So thank you for helping me with this today. I want to go ahead and say this is an educational project. I am not a professional. If there are questions you do not wish to answer, do not have to. Okay?
Okay.
Recording will be viewed only by my professor and possibly my class.
Okay.
I will be taking strong efforts to conceal your identity. And again, this video is only for educational purposes.
Right.
We're going to be discussing thoughts about aging.
I can tell you about aging. I'm only 81. I know I look a lot younger.
Yeah. Well, it's quite an age.
Pardon me?
So that's quite an age.
Yeah, well, I won't tell you things I can't do that I used to do.
What are some of those things?
Biological things having to do with my sexual organs and running. I used to run a lot. But as a friend once told me we're driving, she said, save a drama for your mama. So
Yeah.
I don't miss the drama. I've had all the drama I want in this lifetime.
That's good. What has been the most significant change you've experienced over the last 10 years?
Over the last 10 years?
Yeah, the most significant change.
Well, I mean, would you want me to reveal biological things?
Anything that you feel comfortable?
Well, I feel comfortable. I haven't had an erection in many years, let alone an orgasm. But that's old age, and I don't mind it. I have great memories. In fact, I woke up one night and a voice, it was a man's voice, middle-aged, said, love yourself and trust me, I will see you through, and I will never leave you. The next night, the same voice said, honor your pain with positive memories of a wonderful life. And I take that literally, I do. And no regrets. I know a lot of people, I know most people, who regret the past, are always thinking about it, and worrying about the future. And my belief is all you ever had and all you ever will have is now. Get a hold of now. But I find too many so-called adults that are unable or unwilling to do that.
How does it feel not to be able to have an erection anymore?
Well, as I suggested, I have no disappointments. I don't, sit down, I wish I could. No, I mean, I've been there and done that. But the thing, I was a good athlete, and there's such a thing I think as athletic mentality. And I was the envy of a lot of jock types that I played ball with. And I never really agreed with their general philosophy of wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I always demanded quality in a relationship to go along with the physicality. And I always had an attractive, intelligent female that I was involved with at the time. So I think my parents went through a depression, Second World War, and they're lovely people, my mother and my father, but I had to tell them once I was about 19, Mom, Dad, all they ever said, well, my mother, the doctor said, I said, Mom, God gave you a brain. Don't rely on a doctor. But I saw so many adults, relatives, and other adults who looked very unhappy and very rigid. And I have my own ideas of why that is. I think organized religion is control more lives than all the military dictatorships put together. And I saw that. You know, everywhere I went, relatives everywhere, unhappy, staying with somebody they weren't particularly happy with, afraid of change, afraid of fear. And at a young age, I decided that's not what it's all about. I will not play that game. But they say different strokes for different folks, or whatever gets you through the night. Everybody makes a choice. All people make choices. Who they're going to be with, who they're not going to be with, what they're going to do, what they're not going to do. And even if they blindly depend on others' ideas and thoughts, they're still making the choices. They're choosing not to think.
How does it feel to not be as athletic as you once were?
Well, that's an interesting question. A lot of people, again, a lot of adults they're very negative about that. And I said, hey, I don't miss it because of my memories. I was good. I was good in what I did. And I did my utmost to avoid all those prejudiced attitudes that so many people have. So I don't, quote, miss it. I mean, because I believe in living in the now. I grab hold of the now. And I have lovely memories of what went on before. And that's the way it should be. And so I'm very happy thinking about who I was. Not everything, but I enjoyed life. So, and as I grew up, many people avoided me, or I think they secretly envied me because I had a football scholarship in the early 50s. I had a couple concussions. The doctor advised me to give it up. I was prone to concussion. I did. And so I took a piano class. My old brother had gone to a professor. I never did learn to read music, but I met a young black girl there from Akron, Ohio, and we started holding hands walking around the campus. Now, in 1954, that's a no-no. You can imagine with rigid people what they thought or didn't think. So a lot of people stopped speaking to me. That was okay with me. A few people started to speak who hadn't, and they were professors. So, you know, it's to me the greatest thing anybody can learn is to be yourself and be real. And throw out the fears, the ridiculous fears of what other people might think.
Have you noticed the difference in discrimination over the years?
Between what?
The way that races interact. Have you noticed a difference today from?
Yeah, you know, there are obviously, you know, with the advent of television, lots of things changed, and information became more available than it used to be, and people have, in a sense, loosened up, and they're not so uptight. But the other thing is that I found true, they're still going to be rigid if that's the way that, you know, they choose to be. But yeah, obviously people are different, at least on the surface. But I think fear and prejudice will go hand in hand with people, no matter what the improvements materially or philosophically, because that's what they choose to do, live in fear. At least that's what I see.
And so you're 82 years old, you're a Caucasian male, and you were telling me that you like African American women.
I did at an early age. Yeah, the first thing I noticed when I was born in 35 and in 45 during the war, I naturally loved jazz, big bands. Gene Krupa was my favorite. His singer was Anita O'Day. And as time went on, Charlie Parker came around after the war, and jazz became a religion for me. I needed it. I loved it. I loved music. My brother was an organist choir director. So there was classical music in the home and jazz. I mean, my father didn't approve of jazz. He turned that crap off. But it's like everything. People will be who they're going to be. Men, women, children. If it's at all possible, they will do what they want to do. And they won't do what they don't want to do. Whether it's stupid looking or anything else. And that's, people, I still say, people choose to be who they are. And they choose who they're not going to be. And it has nothing to do with intelligence a lot of the time.
Do you feel, well, I guess you kind of answered this a little bit earlier. Do you feel physically the same as you did 10 years ago? And what specifically has changed?
Well, 10 years ago, I jogged every day.
Okay.
Not for speed or anything, just for the beauty of it to me.
Okay.
In the country. I don't do that anymore. But I have developed neuropathy in the feet, but I still walk a lot. And they keep saying I'm going to do sit-ups and things. I believe in stretching, but I don't do it. So I don't know if it's laziness. I've been there and done that. It's not all that important because I grew up and I was physically good looking and I love girls. And girls love me. I mean, what I look like. But that's not an issue anymore. If nothing else, I don't care. I've moved on from that. And that's what progress is. The universe is always changing, and people should, in my opinion, be willing to keep changing and grab a hold of what's real. So I know too many people who regret the past, what they didn't do, what I wish I should have done, blah, 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 and I don't have that. That doesn't mean I hadn't made mistakes, but I love life, and I believe in grabbing hold of it. The things I read, the things I believe, and what is really unimportant is what other people might think about it. Good, better, and different. That's not an issue. So I say, that's their problem. I say that, hate me if you must, love me if you can, and what you think of me is none of my business. That's kind of my philosophy.
Okay. How has your interaction with women changed as you've gotten older? Has it gotten better, worse, kind of the same, different?
Well, it's a different, it's like in sports, you're playing on a home court or a visitor. It's not important because the issues aren't the same. So I don't think about what other people might think, this, that, and other. Now I will say, I'm around other elderly people, and they think of me as a good-looking person, a lover, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's what I was. But I get feedback every now and then about that. And that's not something I crave or demand, it's just something that is.
Okay. So they still, a lot of your friends still find you attractive for your age? Or
yeah, I'm 81 and I don't work out like I keep pretending I'm going to do. But people don't believe I'm 81 often. But I've long since believed that what we all have and what is important is our attitudinal posture, I call it. Everybody has one. And so I think that is the key to enjoying life, your attitudinal posture. And people pick up on that even if they don't understand it. Because you find something humorous and everything, and just being real. And so I don't have an issue. I'm not trying to change anybody else or anything else. I am who I am, like Popeye. I am what I am, what I am. And that's it. And when life, I can't imagine life becoming unenjoyable. You know, I don't have any money or this or that. I've enjoyed myself, and I've come across people from their reaction to me that I did lots of things that they wish they would have done. For instance, when I gave up a football scholarship, I bought a ticket on an ocean liner, the Queen Elizabeth, went to Europe, no plans, just wandered around, hung out, enjoyed it. Everything necessary will happen. You don't have to plan it. And there was a book called The Ugly American back then, and they made a movie of it, and it was about wealthy white Americans who went to Europe, spending their money, wanting everything they had back here, making enemies, but the Europeans damn sure want your money, and so they put up with it. And I, on 2 occasions, when I was in my travels as a young man, 2 people said, different places, "You're not an American." I said, "Look at me." I had to get my passport out. I said, "Look, I'm an American." And when both times they said, "Why did you not think I was an American?" And well, their answers both times floored me. "Because you say thank you." We never met an American who said thank you. I swear to God, that happened. So there it is in a nutshell, the reality of how things were back then.
Okay.
And I was embarrassed by a lot of Americans I ran across in Europe.
Oh, really? So there was a perception of Americans that they were just rude and you have manners.
Well, there was a general impression that was real, and it was true.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that individuals came across differently. I did.
Yeah.
I had all kinds of people, don't go to here, get a degree, buy something. No, you don't get it. And what I learned from their behavior was a lot of young people around Europe spoke English. I spoke no language. And I got somebody who did. And I said, "Tell whoever's cooking to bring me what they think I'd like best." And I never had a bad meal, and I made friends.
Okay.
Because I wasn't the kind of American they were used to.
Right. Interesting. So you told them just whatever you think I might enjoy. So.
Well, I wanted them, because they were cooking, I wanted to get the message across, give me what you think I would like best.
Okay.
So, the ball was in their court.
Right.
And I knew that I was going to get a good meal.
Yeah.
But that was my attitudinal posture. The Americans that went to Europe in those days, for the most part, didn't have that attitudinal posture. They had this phony superior attitude. Like, we're visiting you poor Europeans. After all, we won the war for you and all that
Oh my gosh.
bullshit.
That's terrible. Real quick question. Could you explain how your thinking has changed over the last 10 years? How do you think different now that you're a little older? Are you like more mature in your thinking, more reasonable,
Well,
more nonchalant?
how I view my thinking changing is that I became more intelligent. I become more aware because I wanted to. In other words, I want to grow and change, and I always have for most of my life, because that's what the universe is doing.
Okay.
So I wanted to enjoy more and more. So I think, it probably sounds stupid, but I think I'm more intelligent in the last 10 years than I was 10 years before.
Okay.
But that's my attitudinal posture.
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. What do you think has made you more intelligent? Just more time to think about things and reasoning? Have you been reading more as you get older?
Well, not reading more, thinking. I still go back to my attitudinal posture. I was a person, always have been, always will be, unlike most of the people around me. I want to grow. I want to change.
Yeah.
And I embrace life. I don't, sit around and worry about what might happen or what used to or anything. And that's, again, an attitudinal posture. So I would simply say, as far as I'm concerned, if you talk to me 2 years from now, if I'm still around, the same thing will be true. I'll be different, better. One way or another, I'll be better because I embrace change and I embrace learning. And as I've learned, I've saw so many adults, wherever I was, who live in fear. I mean, Europeans went through the Second World War. I traveled through Franco, the dictator in Spain. I went through his country and I loved the people. The poverty was extreme. But that's just embracing reality and enjoying life. And I think I've found too many people allow other people to rob them of their own good times because they worry about what other people think, what they might say. And it's not a popular thing to say, but I blame organized religion for much of it and what it's done to people and what people have allowed. And I have been thought as being very radical, but I would say I'm more of a spiritual person. My being is spiritual. That doesn't mean I go to church on Sunday, but it's a reality of the spirit. And that's a fact. But not a lot of people think that way. It's too risky. The silent majority, they don't want to come out. They want to be invited to the country club.
Now, this is a little bit of a personal question. Do you feel like your relationship with God has grown? Do you feel like there is a God more now that you've gotten older? Do you feel more spiritually inclined? Like, yes. And
Yeah.
is it a certain kind of God?
Okay, well, I don't even think in terms of God. I talk to 24/7, my spirit, God, whatever, somebody, and I don't necessarily believe all the stuff that's taught out of the Bible about Jesus did this, Jesus did that. Organized religion made Mary Magdalene into a prostitute. Fact is, if you do some studying, it was his girlfriend. He was a person. If he could do all the things he did, you didn't think he had a girlfriend? But power will distort the truth in order to control people. It always has been, always will be, if they're allowed to do it. And so, if you can get people to, believe in the good fairy, you got control over them. Generally speaking, that's the way I've always thought. And I don't lord it over anyone. I'm just me, like Popeye.
You are what you are.
Yeah, and other people are what they are.
Yeah.
But they don't always want to see it. People avoid having a light shine on them. They want to stay in the dark.
Okay. So, do you feel like as other people have gotten older, they kind of get more religious or less religious that you've seen, like friends around you?
Well, okay, I don't think in terms of the word you use, religious. I think of the word spiritual, because spiritual has to do, for me, with the entire universe, everything. And people, religion It's what church you go to and is your attendance. I don't go for any of that. So spiritually, everybody has the option to become spiritual. And so I just don't hang out with those kind of people. So I can't really give you an honest answer because I guess I pretty much avoid being around those kinds of people. You know, it's like good music. I'm a jazz snob. I think I know what good music is, and I don't want to hear. You go and hear some of these stations, whether it's so-called rock or whatever it is. To me, it's very silly. It's not music that I care to listen to. So, you know, all you have to do is go where there's a group of people and see what's going on. Then you'll know. One man's poison is another man's pleasure. I guess that says it. Since it's that way in music, looking at women, everything. But again, another saying is true. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Oh. Real quick, is there any kind of like new music that you found as you've gotten older that you started to like that you didn't like before, or that you just stands out to you more?
No, I lived in Japan a while, and their music is very different. Most Americans wouldn't like the sitar. That's Indian, but I like that music. There's nothing new in music to me. It's all, I would say, it's not the music, but the key is the performer, who's playing it.
Okay.
I hear people playing jazz, quotes unquote, and it's very boring.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna. Charlie Parker could play jazz. He was a genius. He was a drug addict, but he's one in a million.
So let's focus on you a little bit more. How have your friendships changed in your life as you have aged?
How have my friendships?
Yeah, how have they changed? Have they gotten better, worse, more distant?
Well, from my viewpoint, obviously the only one I can have, everything's getting better because I choose to make it better.
Okay.
But there are plenty of people around who won't say that about me because we're living in different worlds.
Yeah.
Walking the same streets, but I'm in another dimension. And that may sound, I don't know what, but it's true. You know. And I think for those, again, who have eyes to see, you can walk down the street, you can pretty well pick out somebody you like and what they're about. Because we all carry ourselves a certain way, and it's all visible for those who have eyes to see. Unfortunately, not enough people have eyes to see.
Yeah. So, do you think you've made more friends, or have you lost some friends over time?
Well, I think I've lost friends. I can cite a couple of examples. I used to know a couple of guys who turned hostile towards me for no reason at all.
How so?
Well, it's, just by their actions and things they've said. And I think, for my money, they're threatened by somebody who has the courage to do what they wish the hell they could do. And therefore, we have to throw stones at it. I'm living evidence against who they choose to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that pisses them off.
Yeah.
So that's what I found. I don't suffer through it. It's the way it is. Again, I'm embracing change, knowledge, beauty. And, you know, some people don't hear it. And that's their choice.
Okay.
So I don't go around judging them.
Is that your phone?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you sound
I'll
it?
sit on it.
Okay. Yeah, so how does that make you feel? Does that kind of like make you a little more depressed that you've lost some friends over the year, that they've become hostile towards you?
No, not me. Because it may sound egotistical. Maybe it is. There's nothing wrong